Good evening and welcome to CAN TV 21 Hotline. Let's talk etiquette. I'm so pleased to be your host, be the host of this show tonight. And I welcome you to call in. You can call in at 312-738-1060. Yes, 1060-1060. And without any further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome my special co-host, Etiquette Maven Extraordinary, Georgia Selma. Welcome back to be with me once again.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. It is indeed a pleasure to be here again.
Yes.
And to co-host this wonderful, wonderful program.
Thank you so much. This is such an awesome subject, one that really impacts everything we do. If you're conscious, you're going to understand more about how to behave, what to do, and when to do it by listening to our show.
Yes.
But please call in and join us and join the conversation. Now, last week, if you happen to miss last week's show, we covered the art of parenting. Now, when I was a young adult parent, and when you were a young adult parent, no one ever said to me, "You need to learn the art of parenting."
No, absolutely not.
I would have loved to have someone say something like that to me. And I would say, what is that? What is the art of parenting, right?
Well, whatever we did it well.
We did it.
We did it well. We have
did.
Successful children.
Yes.
They grew up with the old-fashioned tradition
yes.
of good manners and morals.
Yes.
And I'm proud to say that.
Oh, I am so proud. Your children are just such outstanding young women.
Well, thank you.
Just you and your husband, their father, did such an outstanding job with them.
Thank you.
And, of course, with my children, I can attest to their wonderful social skills and the ability to be great citizens in this society, to make the kinds of contribution that all of us parents want to be able to brag about and say that our children are doing such great work. And just
without the formula,
right,
without the parenting manuals and the parenting information that's available today.
Right.
We didn't have that.
As
I said last week, we had Dr. Spock.
That was it.
That was it.
And our grandparents
and
our parents who instilled these values in us.
Yes.
And they worked tirelessly to make sure that we became as best of a citizen, a human being, possible. So I owe everything to my parents and grandparents, and the same with you, too.
Absolutely.
And so parenting is such a skill that is so critical in raising that child, the children you have produced. And so you do have an obligation to those wonderful human beings. And yes, we've confronted with so many distractions as parents, and that's so unfortunate that we are not given the time that we should be given to our children to make sure that they learn two basic skills, or really one skill with one set of values, and that's good manners and good morals. They can't go wrong with those two values. But as you well know, the society we're living in today is not very conducive to those values. And so we're appealing to the parents out there to step up and begin to do more on this subject with your children. Now, this evening, we're going to talk about older children.
Yes.
Last week, we talked about younger children that's 4, 5, 6 years old. And this show, we're going to devote to your older child, the 10, 12, 15-year-olds.
Yes.
And the reason we decided to do this show here on that age group is because what are we doing?
Well, we are actually working in the schools with adolescents, and they're 15 and older. Yes. And it's a challenge.
Yes.
But it's also very rewarding.
Yes.
It was a greater challenge when we initially started our etiquette training, and now that we're halfway finished,
Yes.
we see a tremendous amount of growth
Yes.
and accomplishments,
Yes.
and it was definitely worth our while.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the students are receptive. In the beginning, they were not.
Right.
They were not receptive, and they were like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
Now they're like, okay, this is
Okay.
beginning to make sense.
Yes.
Especially when we have transformed their everyday attire to the importance of employment attire.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
to see these kids take those baggy jeans off, sagging jeans off,
Yes.
and to put on a suit or a pair of dress slacks and
Yes.
a shirt and a tie is totally refreshing.
Totally refreshing. It's such a transformation in their attitude, in their behavior. And so we're recommending to the parents who are out there and listening that you start with an introduction to etiquette. And you give them this information because it's so important for them to understand what the word etiquette means and how it relates to their society, this society, their society, and how important it is to adopt these values so that they may be able to comport themselves in a proper manner in this culture. And that's critical. And we had, I think, 2 or 3 lessons on introduction to etiquette.
Yes.
And then we subdivided that out into a number of other related subjects. And I think that was the beginning of their understanding. It's like first learning the ABCs, then you learn how to spell, then you learn how to write. You have to give them the basics first.
Exactly.
And that introduction to etiquette was the key to where they're at today.
That's right.
And I know you had mentioned you felt we needed to go over conflict resolution again. with them.
Absolutely.
And why did you feel that was a subject?
Because so many of our young people today have difficulty resolving conflict.
Yes.
They sometimes, and I'm not saying this doesn't apply to every student, every youth, but so many of the young people that we come in contact with, they have difficulty resolving conflict.
Yes.
And when we did the training on conflict resolution, some of them, they felt like, oh, well, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to fight every battle.
Yes.
That you have choices. And when we introduced that concept and introduced to them the various ways that you can resolve problems and conflict, it was like, okay, the light went on, the
Right.
light bulb went on. It was
Right.
like, oh, okay.
Right.
And it was refreshing to see them take a situation and then kind of dissect and say, okay, I don't have to hit back all the
Right.
time.
Right.
I don't have to curse you out.
Yes.
I don't have to insult you because you insulted me.
Yes.
There are ways that I can win without losing.
Yes. Yes. And part of that lesson was teaching them, how to have the appropriate response when someone says something that's insulting to you that you would normally react in a negative way towards. How do you resolve the issue in a positive way with that other person? And those lessons were critical to them being able to not react the way they normally would react.
Absolutely.
But react in a way that's more positive towards the other person. Oh, it could be something simple. We was teaching them about apologies, how to apologize.
Yes.
Sometimes you may not be wrong, but the person may not have understood you. And then you say, oh, I'm so sorry. If I hurt your feelings, please accept my apology. And if you say it with the right tone, and we had the students practicing, just apologize. So rather than going into that whole negative thing that our children have so been conditioned to react to in a negative way when someone says something insulting to you. And to see how they took this information, something as simple as just simply apologizing, even though you may not have been wrong in, doing that. But it's very difficult for someone to come back at you if you apologize. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's hard to say, well, I'm going to cuss you out anyway.
And that's what that's the lesson.
Yes.
Learning how to say, excuse me.
Yes. Yes.
If someone bumps into you accidentally or not.
Yes.
If you say, oh, excuse me, or pardon me.
Yes.
That solves it,
It
right
solves
there.
it. Right. There's nowhere for me to go with it.
And that's what we're teaching.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's what we're teaching. If someone gives you something, be courteous and say thanks.
Yes. And sometimes and part of that lesson was when you have a person is obviously, don't like you. And this happens in the school all the time.
All the time.
You see people that look at you the wrong way, frowning at you, mumbling to themselves. If you know this person do not like you or they have some grudge, and it's so easy for rumors and people to spread bad rumors about you to other people who really don't know you, but they take what their friends say about you as being gospel. And so we have learned, and we teach our students to just be complimentary. The power of complimenting someone is a powerful tool. Oh, I like that blouse you have on. That is so pretty. It becomes you. Now, that person didn't like you, but what are they going to do with that? What are they going to do? They're going to say, okay, oh, yeah, I do like it myself. So using the power of complimenting a person that you know that may not like you is a great tool. You need to teach your children this, because this is how they avoid these issues of conflict that very well may get them suspended. We're dealing with students who are what? Suspended.
Suspended, absolutely.
And they're in an alternative school to keep from being kicked totally out of school.
Yes.
Because they do want them to get their lessons and their education. And so they have separated these young people from the regular student body, and we have the opportunity to work with them.
Yes.
And so it's a pleasure to see how they respond to little simple lessons in etiquette.
And how they're growing.
How they're growing. Oh,
I'll
maturity.
tell anyone, if you can incorporate etiquette education into whatever programs you're trying to teach, it would be a total benefit to your population.
It would be.
We're working with kids that's been kicked out of the system, and they are receptive to this training.
Yes, yes.
And like I said, it wasn't that easy in the beginning,
No.
but we've worked with them now for how many weeks?
A couple of months.
Couple of months.
At least a couple of months. Oh, we have a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, and good evening to y'all guys.
Oh, Steve, how are you? We
I
missed you
y'all last week. Yes. Let me tell you something that I truly, truly enjoy. I got my grandkids over, ranging from 9 to 7.
Okay.
What I do, and now there's a break, they out of school. Well, we play games. We play board games. You'd be surprised. Just put a board game and see how kids argue. You can hear everything. And it's so easy to show them a way to do things instead of arguing, and then they change. I mean, this is something that we used to do when I was a young kid. It seems like people don't do this no more, but my wife and I, we go and we buy a lot of board games, but also they must do homework. Now,
yes.
just like they do homework every morning when they get up, because they staying with me. And they do a wonderful, good job. Guess what? They get rewarded. Just like 2 of them got helicopters. And
nice.
yesterday we was all out in the streets doing helicopters.
Yes.
So again, there's many ways to reward and show kids that you could do other things besides going on social media and doing all that mess and doing this. It's so much. If listen, if we take 10 kids, we'd be glad if we could save two. That's
Absolutely.
better
I
than
totally
not
agree.
saving
I
anyone.
totally agree.
So again, there's so many ways
Yes, that's a good
for us.
idea.
That's
Now they on
amazing.
TV. Now they in the front listening to me speak to you. And they two of them just came in here. They said, "Daddy, you're talking." Well, again, I hope somebody else, because you told me earlier you was talking about parenting,
Yes.
a ball and a bat. Take them to the park.
Yes. You have to
Do
you have to
anything.
interact with them. You do have to
Yeah,
be
you got to
involved with
be
them.
creative and you got to get with them. And most important, you will notice and you watch the kids. You see how they react. If
Yes.
they do some wrong, you don't have to holler. Just bring two of them over there. Say, listen, that's not the way you do it. And
Yes.
then they will say, I'm sorry, you're right. So that
Yes.
makes
Communication.
me feel
Communication.
so good. So again,
Yes.
it's a great day to be on God's green earth.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
great day that we have a show like yours that show people, tell people how to do things. It's a shame that not too many people watch it. But listen, you got one fan here, and you
Steve.
teach me a lot of things.
Thank you,
So
Steve.
listen again,
Yes.
it's a great day, and it was
Thank
so
you.
wonderful hearing y'all speak today.
Yes.
You know how I am. I could talk the whole show, but let me get out the air and
Yes.
hear your response. And
Yes.
please have a great night, safe night, and a wonderful weekend coming up.
Thank you,
Y'all
Steve.
take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve is one of our most loyal, and I really appreciate you, Steve. Believe me. I think you were the one who bought the roses or the pizza. I can't remember which show that was a few years ago. Someone sent a pizza down here today. I think it was you, Steve, but I'll check with you next week to see if you're the one that sent the pizza for us. But we do appreciate your support and your loyalty to this show, and you speak so eloquently about this subject, and we
Yes.
would miss you terribly if you weren't calling in. And so, yes, keep working with those grandkids. That's what we grandparents need to do.
Well, that's what not just grandparents. That's what parents need to do. We're talking
Yes.
about parenting.
Yes.
And Steve, obviously his children, grandchildren are younger,
Mm-hmm.
where they can still get into the game playing together.
Right.
But even with teenagers, spending time with them is critical.
Yes.
There's another caller.
Yes, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Steve again.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was. I sent y'all a pizza. There's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Sometimes people need to learn to say thank you. I appreciate things. It was nothing but order pizza that I sent over to y'all guys.
We enjoyed
But
it.
listen, look how much look how much I have received from y'all. So I mean, a pizza is nothing. And listen, by the
Wonderful
way, I
surprise.
love that
Nice
tie.
knot.
That's a nice knot.
Nice
I
knot.
really
Nice.
appreciate that. But I had to call back and tell
Okay,
you that.
okay, that's
All
fine.
right.
I'm glad we have it. We know who did that now.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Yeah, that shows his appreciation for this show and and what we're trying to do. And we need law supporters like Steve, and we wish more would call in and watch the show.
Absolutely.
And we're going to try to figure out how to do that. But back to our teenagers, these young people that we're trying to educate in etiquette. And one of the things we had talked about was, and we discussed this with them, this whole thing about their age. And they're in between adolescent and they're in between adulthood.
Right.
And really right now is an important time for them to get serious about their education. We talked to them about that. And they related to that so well. And so one of the things we used in our class and teaching them was visuals. And one of our visuals I want to show you, because we are teaching them about employment and the need to be employed and the benefit of being able to one day be not self-employed, but yes, they could be that, but to be self-sufficient in their employment where they can take care of themselves. That's the whole objective of you being able to go out as an adult and survive in this world and be able to do it self-sufficiently. So one of our props is this right here, which we think is very telling. We tell our young men and women, say, look, you see this? You're going to need this to buy a bottle of water, to buy a sandwich, to pay for your light bill, You're going to need this. Now, what do you want? Would you rather earn this or earn this, or many of these?
Right.
Huh? What do you want to earn, just this or many of these? And your education is critical to you being able to earn at a higher level. And so what do we add to that? We add to that this little piece here that we give out to our students. These are for our teenagers, okay? And I want to put this on the overhead so you can kind of see what this looks like. Let's see where we at here. Okay. Oh, that's zoomed in too high, too large. But anyway, I'm going to go from the top down. And what we do, we give them a chart on a single page from A grade and what your potential earnings are with an A grade. A B grade is half of what you would earn with an A grade. C is a tenth of what you would earn with a C grade. So as you can see, as your grades go lower, your income decreases. And our students took to this so well. They understood this and the importance of those grades in relationship to what your earning potentials are. Okay? So that's one of our little props we use in our class. And give me some of your reaction to the kind of conversations you've had with our students in reference to this kind of material.
Well, they bought into that whole concept, how you apply yourself in school can determine your income. And because it's logical, it just makes sense.
Yes.
If you're a student that doesn't work hard, that doesn't try for higher grades, A's and B's, and you limit yourself. And I say you limit yourself because I think that students have the potential to do better if they, if they want to do better.
Yes.
They understand that. They understand the concept very clearly.
Yes.
And we tell them, it's up to you. Where do you want to fit in this whole
economic system?
Yeah, where do you want to fit in?
Yes.
So how you apply yourself today will determine your outcome for tomorrow,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yes.
But parenting is key
Yes.
because your student becomes a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old or 19-year-old. You don't give up on them. You continue to engage with them.
Yes. Yes. And this
You
is,
continue to engage with them.
yes. Yes. And we would really encourage you parents to at least a half hour a day on this subject. If you can invest 1/2 hour. Now we're investing 2 hours a week.
Yes.
Tuesday an hour and Thursday an hour.
And the kids, they love it.
They love it.
They love time being spent
Yes.
with them.
Yes. And it would be great if we were there three days a week or 4 days a week. We'd be more than happy to be there
Absolutely.
3 or 4 days a week. But because we're there just 2 days, we practically created a miracle in these young people's attitude towards themselves and towards their outlook on their future. And we did an evaluation last week, and I quickly mentioned that. We did a grade employment evaluation, and they got outstanding scores. And we had a young manager from Walmart come in and interview them.
Yes.
And that turned out wonderful. Well, it looks like our time
It goes
is
by so
about
quickly.
up. We're
Yes.
just getting started. But I enjoyed having you view the show. Steve, you're great. That pizza was wonderful. And just keep looking, keep calling us. We really appreciate you. And Ms. Selman, I will give you the last closing word.
Tune in. This is an excellent program. We have great information. We want to share it with as many organizations and as many families and with as many youth as we possibly can. You can catch us on CAN TV. You want to give
Yes.
them the information,
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, you can CAN TV Hotline 21. You can go on YouTube and pull the show up at any time if you happen to miss this show. So we encourage you to go and use that resource. We'd love to have some feedback from you.
Yes.
You can reach us at 312-792-2942. So you can always call us or go online. The Etiquette Foundation of Illinois is who we are. You can Google that, and you could send us an email, contact us. We look forward to it next week for another great subject.
And we
on-
want to make sure that your student, your child, receive the information about etiquette education.
Yes.
It is vital, it's important.
Yes.
They can have great success with it, and you need to contact the Etiquette Foundation
And
of
get more,
Illinois.
to get more information. Thank you, and good night.